Good morning, next homies. Hope everyone's doing well. It's morning here in California. We got people all over the country, like our friend Thomas in South Carolina. So don't make me do math, but it's almost afternoon or is afternoon out your way. Stalling for just a minute here because I know we got people logging in fast and furious. Everyone is muted, so we're going to keep it that way just because we have a fair amount of people on this one. And if we got dogs and kids and everything else running around in the background. So we'll keep you guys muted. I will play the audience on this webinar after I do the introductions. I will play the audience and try to be a really active listener and ask questions as we move through this. And maybe I'll just briefly set up sort of how you got here. What we've done is, as you know, we've been a partner with Zillow for a very long time, and they have given us some unprecedented access to their data. And I don't want to steal all of Chris's thunder, so I'll just do it very high level. But what we've tried to do is find areas where there is great lead flow and lead opportunity for Zillow and overlay it across our footprint of our offices. And so if you got invited to the webinar, you were invited because those two things are in alignment in your local area. If you already have Zillow and you've been doing a Zillow spend, then this is really going to be an encouragement for you to go deeper, look at exploring and making sure it's fully optimized. So we'll be talking about some strategies and approaches as well for that. So why don't I start by introducing Chris. Chris, say hello to all the next homies.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lapp, and I have had a great opportunity to work with NextHome. I've actually had an opportunity to meet several of you at your conferences, broker conferences, NextHome annual conference, and work with several of you on the platform. So my role is in corporate partnerships, meaning that I work with James and I work with Keith, and we work to create a dynamic relationship where we're really able to provide opportunities to agents and brokers. And we started this idea earlier this year where we really opened up the vault, so to speak, and gave a lot of access to data of what agents and brokers are doing on a high level, not like individual accounts, but to really see what is going on, what is the engagement, and how well is NextHome as a company doing on Zillow. And as we began to open up some of these data points, we saw some really, really encouraging signs. And we saw that there was great engagement, great participation, great conversion. And with that, partnered together with Keith and James and said, we want to provide an opportunity for NextHome. And what that looks like is we essentially took all your brokerage addresses, and we looked and found where are their zip codes nearby your broker address that has great opportunities, meaning it has a good number of connections available, it has good advertising spend available, and great ROI possibility. Great estimated ROI is what we call it. So what we've done is we've kind of surveyed the landscape with your offices, zeroed in on that data points, and invited you to come to this webinar because we're essentially saying this is a great opportunity for NextHome brokers who are particularly in these areas. Now, we have not done this with other brokerages. So this really does speak to the great relationship that we have at Zillow with NextHome. So you NextHomies are a part of a great brokerage, a wonderful culture at NextHome. And again, we want to partner with you and see that success. So we have Shelly on the back end, and she's going to be moving the slides. So if you hear any of us saying, next slide, Shelly, that's who's going to be doing that. And we also are going to be having one of your very own, Thomas Schumpert, and he is going to be sharing his story with you all about how he's really found success on Zillow. And he's going to be interviewed by his business consultant who works closely with him here at Zillow, Megan Olson. But before we do that, I'm going to share some data points for you guys so you're able to see some high level what NextHome is doing with Zillow when it comes to brokerages. And then after I walk through that, we're going to have our very own John Dukart. He is a sales executive here on our team, and he's going to walk through the broker platform for you all so that you have kind of an idea if maybe you haven't heard about it or it's been a while. He's going to talk through some of the new features and things that we have to really help position you for success. So as we find ourselves in this COVID world, and as we slowly start to emerge from the COVID winter and COVID begins to thaw and spring begins to come, some of the things that we have seen here at Zillow is we have seen that people are looking more than ever before. Our traffic on the site is higher than ever before. We have, think about it this way, we have over 1 in 2 Americans that are visiting a Zillow site every single month. The traffic is high, people are engaged, and I don't know if you're like me, but you find yourself in a situation where home means more than it has ever meant before. And as we're spending so much time in our houses, we're realizing, man, I could really use another bedroom, I could use an office, and people begin to look and dream and think about what's possible when it comes to homes. And so that's what we're seeing. We want to partner with you to see world-class service to the consumers that are visiting Zillow, and we believe that you at NextHome offer that service. So here's a few data points that I have that I want to kind of back that up with. So Shelly, if you want to go to the next slide for me, here's what you'll see. Currently on the broker platform, we have multiple different ways to partner with Zillow. The one that we're specifically focusing on here today is Premier Agent for brokers. And so this would be the broker platform that you would provide connections for your agents. And again, John's going to talk more about that. But currently, as of the end of Q1, where there was 25 NextHome brokerages who were on the platform, advertising in 146 zip codes across the nation. Now, the average home value that of a listing that somebody reached out on in those zip codes was $297,000 and some change. And I want to highlight this, the average customer satisfaction survey score. Now, these are the consumers who connect with an agent, and they do a short survey similar to like Uber or Lyft, right? After you get out of an Uber or Lyft, you have a quick survey similar to that. An 86 score is average. 90 is considered best of Zillow, where you are providing the world-class service, top 10% across the nation. And you guys, as an average, are 87.63. As an average, that's very, very good. So again, we want to partner with you because you are providing the experience that we want the consumers on Zillow to have. Now, I want to highlight this number, especially in a COVID world. Throughout the last quarter, out of those 25 brokerages that are on the platform, we delivered 1,422 live connections to those brokerages. So again, traffic is high, people are engaged, people are reaching out, and we see that we have a current average of conversion rate of over 3%. So what this really tells us is NextHomies, you are engaged with Zillow, you are spending money on Zillow, but the best part about it is that you are getting back more than you are spending. And as we are in this COVID world where we are finding very quickly, or have found, that virtual front door is more important than ever, this is a great opportunity to learn about what we are doing and how we can partner together to provide world-class service to the consumers reaching out on Zillow. So with that said, what I want to do is pass it off to John. And again, John's going to walk through some program updates, high level, what the broker program is, and then we'll get to Thomas and hear his story about his success on the program. So with that, John, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Keith. Hello, NextHome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Dukart, and I just want to welcome everyone to my 700 square foot apartment here in Seattle. So Keith and Chris have heard me say this line before, but my home has literally never been cozier in my life. And I'm thrilled that my wife, I think she still loves me. So I'm hoping that she does after 3 months in quarantine with me. A little bit about me. I've been on the team here for about 2 years now, and I've had the fortune in that time period to set up close to 100 brokers across the nation. And with that, I've been able to kind of understand what makes these people successful. So my goal today is to share from a very high level how these partnerships work in an effort, of course, to leave no stone unturned for you guys. So with that being said, we have our lovely admin here, Shelly, controlling the slides, so bear with me as we go through this. So next slide here, Shelly. So as Chris and Keith had alluded to, it's really important to understand why Zillow Group is doing this. And this is our mission statement, which reads pretty simply, give people the power to unlock life's next chapter, which means we want to make it as easy as possible for people to make their next move. Whether it is they're buying their first home, maybe selling their third or fourth, we want them to have a good experience. However, a challenge that we, quite candidly, as an organization have is that we don't always have the quality professional on the ground that we need to facilitate that experience. That's why we've been working really, really closely with Keith and the NextHome team just to make sure that we have the right folks on the ground to facilitate that experience. So that's sort of our why, right? Driving a positive consumer experience with the right professional on the ground. The next slide here, Shelly. Also important to understand, why is it that broker owners have been doing this, right? Like what's in it for you guys? And we really see four main reasons that folks have been doing this with us. And the first there, as you guys have probably guessed, is recruiting and retaining agents, putting something like Zillow Group Lead Flow that's uniquely valuable within your brokerage to attract or retain talent. Second, increasing brokerage revenue through transaction. Third there, in my opinion, probably the most powerful way this is leveraged is increasing productivity. And what I mean by that is, let's say you take 3 to 6 agents, right, that don't have the spheres of influence that maybe you or some of your other top agents have. We can put them on this team, send them Zillow Group Lead Flow, give them the training they need, hold them accountable to it, and watch their productivity rise, right? So helping them to build their spheres of influence, but also impacting their lives and their income super positively. And finally there, fourthly, this is designed to be something that you guys all control, not your agents. We want to work directly with broker owners themselves, not the agents, to actually leverage this in a way that you guys want to, whether it be recruiting agents, right, or increasing agent productivity. So that's the why for Zillow Group. That's why a lot of broker owners are doing this. Next slide here, Shelly. I want to talk about sort of the legs of this partnership. And this slide here is focused on the first leg. So there are really 2 legs. There's opportunities and leads from Zillow Group. And then after the opportunities, sort of the team management and active management with which Thomas and Megan will talk about here in a little bit. But in terms of the leads that come from Zillow Group, this first leg here, Zillow Group nowadays is sending about 3 types of lead flow. So the first 2 types are, I want to say, the sexiest types of lead flow. There's phone connections, which are vetted phone calls, which all your agents really have to do is answer the phone in order to get a live buyer and seller. I'll walk through that here in a moment. The second type is take a tour, and we'll go through that one at a high level as well. But that's almost as it sounds. Appointments set for your agents that all they have to do is facilitate. And then finally, that third type, maybe a little bit less sexy, but still important, consumer-initiated opportunities. These are going to be email leads that inquired on a property that didn't come in the form of a phone call or a preset appointment via tour. All right, next slide here, Shelly. So this is what the process for our phone calls is looking like nowadays. We rolled out this technology about 2 years ago, have been improving it ever since, but the whole goal of phone calls is to send a live transferred, a vetted buyer or seller to your agents on the ground to accomplish one of 2 things. we want to make sure we're finding the folks that are raising their hand and saying, hey, I want to speak with the real estate agent right now. I'm ready to have that conversation. But then the second goal of that is we want to make it easy on our partners on the ground. A lot of our clients don't have time to track down these leads, so we want to do that for them. So that person's going to submit an inquiry on our site. We have about 400 Zillow Group employees that are going to validate it there, which is that little middle circle there on our screen. And then once we get that person on the phone, we'll live broadcast that to your agents on the ground. So what your agents would actually experience nowadays is a phone call coming from one number, and all they have to do is pick up the phone, and on the other end of the line is that buyer, seller, and of course the Zillow Group employee. So that's phone connections. A quick call out, because I get a lot of questions on this. Do we send phone calls to multiple people at a time? Are these phone calls shared? They are not. We send the calls to one party at one time, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Point is, we're trying to drive a really positive consumer experience with this process that we're looking at, simply by making it easy for a relationship to build, because we can connect an agent with a consumer very quickly and on demand. So that's
John,
as Zillow Group. Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you frame up those 3 sexy lead types again? I know you went through each one in detail, but if you could just frame up 3 different structures, that would be great.
Yeah, no doubt. So we were just looking at the first one, which is a phone call. The second is a take a tour connection, which we'll cover here in the next slide. And then the third are consumer initiated. We call them other leads, additional leads nowadays. They'll come as an email contact, but those are folks that have indicated a longer timeline to us, or maybe we haven't gotten on the phone yet. So I would say the bread and butter, just reading between the lines for you guys, and Thomas will probably talk a lot about this, is you want to put a lot of time, a lot of effort into the phone calls, into the appointments, because these folks have actually indicated the seriousness to move forward with that. So with that being said, Shelly, next slide here. That second type, which is relatively newer for us, and honestly has probably been the most exciting of our formats recently. Reason being is we rolled this out nationally in January of 2020, which are take a tour connections, which are almost as they sound. If you are a buyer looking at a home and you like that home, you can schedule an appointment to see that home, a tour, and it's up to one of our agents, one of you guys on the ground, to simply facilitate that. Now, you can think of this as almost a preset appointment that all the agents have to do is facilitate. So the goal of this was obviously to find people that are a lot farther along in the process, that maybe they've already done their research, maybe they've done a lot of homework, and their next step is actually to start seeing these homes so they can obviously start to make an offer. So that's the second type there, take a tour. And then just wrapping up one more time on the leads in general, on that first leg of the partnership, we have phone connections, which are those phone calls. We have these preset appointments, which are called take a tour connections. And we have those other leads. And finally, I'll have Shelly switch to the next slide here. Finally, the last call out I'll bring to your attention about that first leg, that Zillow Group lead flow, is that about 1.5 years ago, Zillow Group started giving exclusivity to the agents, working the leads, thinking that we don't want these consumers bombarded by multiple agents when they make an inquiry. We send leads and phone calls to one party at one time, and they're exclusively yours to work. What we're looking at here on the screen is simply an example of what that looks like in the eyes of the consumer. So what we're looking at here, after that consumer connects with one of your agents, you're going to go back out onto the site. Instead of seeing other paying advertisers, they're only going to see the person on your team that they've connected with. But the whole thinking behind this is making it really easy for a relationship to happen. We also don't want other agents working other agents' leads. So with that being said, that wraps up sort of the first leg, which is the lead flow, which are the phone connections, take a tour, appointments, other leads, all of which are exclusive and not shared between agents. But more importantly, I want to switch gears here and talk about the second leg. And the second leg is really going to be the focus of today, how we manage these teams with you guys. And Thomas and Megan, who's Thomas's point of contact here at Zillow, are going to dive in depth as to about how all this works. Next slide here, Shelly. But I want to be completely candid when we talk about Zillow. Zillow is not something that you can just turn on and hope will work. It takes active management from our side, and it takes active management from your side. We'll talk about that, of course, in depth with Thomas, but what we're looking at here is just one of the ways that we manage these teams with you. So if you choose to come on board, or for those of you already on board, you have someone that's actively assigned to the success of your account, whose job it is to make sure that the agents are doing the right things. And this tool is an example of one of the ways we manage that, right? So we can ask questions like, are the agents picking up the phone when we send them phone calls? Are they setting follow-up tasks with the lead? Are they converting? Should we keep sending them leads, or should we take them off the team? But using this in such a way where we're controlling the variables, making high-level recommendations to you about how to manage the team to make sure that the agents are set up for. Next slide here, Shelly. So know that when you're partnering with Zillow, we're trying to take a really smart approach with this. You're not going to be alone. We're here to support you, and know that what you're looking at here on the screen are just some of the tools, services that are provided in these partnerships to manage them effectively. So with that being said, I'm going to pause here, just offer some context before we toss it over to our main event, Thomas and Megan here. If this is something you guys want more information on, we took a really high-level overview today. So next step, if you wanted to take it, would be you could talk to someone like myself. We'd get all your questions answered. We'd take a much deeper dive than we did today. So in case any questions are unanswered, know that there's a venue for that about how this partnership works. And with that being said, I want to toss it over now to our main event, Mr. Thomas Schumpert, and then his business consultant, Megan Olson here, who's his Zillow point of contact. So with that being said, take it away, guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John, for giving us an overview of how leads are distributed with our platform. So like you said, my name is Megan Olson. I'm a senior business consultant at the Zillow Group, and I'm coming to you from my Seattle, or outside of Seattle, home. I do have 2 dogs. Hopefully they will behave. You probably saw one of them jump into the screen earlier. But I'm excited to be here today, and I'm even more excited to have Thomas join us here today. So I am his business consultant. What that means is I am a partner in this for him. Like John said, this is not a you buy our platform and forget it and all this magic happens. It is also not something that we sign you up and say, okay, good luck. We are absolutely there to help you navigate this and to drive the results you're looking for. And so that is a key piece, because everyone comes onto this platform with some slightly different goals and approaches with it, but we will guide you on what will help you drive the best results. And so Thomas and I started working together back in the beginning of December, actually. So he had grabbed some zip codes a little bit prior to that, but then he and I got connected. I took over his account as his business consultant early December. And I can say it's been a pleasure working with Thomas, your NextHome Thomas. We have been able to even meet in person prior to COVID all starting up. But his experience so far has been a really good one to hear, because as he'll kind of tell you, he was with us previously, years and years ago, and it was a completely different experience. It was one that was not very good. And because of that, he was a little bit of a doubter, a little bit skeptical of could this Zillow thing work for him. And so this time around, the results are much, much different, and you'll get a lot of detail on that here shortly. But I think some of the keys are with him and his team's success. They're very hardworking. They are very much focused on making this something that is beneficial to their business and that they excel at. And so far, the results are really good. They have about 24 closed or pending from us so far, and like double digits in terms of active clients they're working with. 14 plus, I think, is what he told me most recently, that they're actively, hoping to get to the closing table and find that person's ideal home. And that's even during COVID, right? So they've even experienced some loss of clients because of that. I think 4 deals did not take place because of COVID. So even during that time, business has been gained. Things have been going overall pretty good, but not perfect. There's always hiccups along the way. And so without further ado, I think we should jump right in because I know you guys are most excited to hear from Thomas, your next homie. So I have Thomas Schrumpert of NextHome Specialist based out of Columbia, South Carolina, here with me today. Thank you for joining me, Thomas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so Shelly, if you would go to the first question, please. We're going to jump right in. So tell me what your first experience was like, when you joined Zillow the first time, and be honest and specific here.
Oh, always honest. Specific is about 10 years ago, I was interested in Zillow and knew a few people were doing it. My business was really good, had a lot of, expendable income. So I threw a couple $1,000s at Zillow back 9 or 10 years ago, and it straight up gave you leads. I mean, you got notifications and leads and people were contacting you all the time. But back then, if my recollection, and it all can boil back down to me, it was my fault. I was not working them correctly. The folks that were successful with it had the team and processes in place. I was thinking that I would get leads and close deals like everyone, it would expect. But you were basically in a rat race with 4 other agents or 3 other agents at the time that turned into 4 agents. And it was really who had the best scripts. I mean, it was really who could show up, grab that call, and talk that potential buyer into not working with the other 3 people who were calling on your coattails. So it was a horrible rat race. I was incredibly busy, never seemed to convert any, with thousands of leads. They're still in my Zillow contacts now from that many years ago. So I'm glad you guys didn't get rid of them. But it was a rat race that I never seemed to win and did not necessarily want to work that way. So it was a very unpleasant experience. Those are still in there. I might run them through Boomtown one day and cycle them through, but just a not a great experience. A lot of that was my fault, but I threw a lot of money away by not having the system and because the system was so different.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's before I even got to Zillow. And since I've been at Zillow, we've acquired Trulia. Our traffic has grown insane amounts. And we've completely really revamped our lead distribution and our platform. And so I think that's key. I mean, we heard from John, it is not that, oh my gosh, are you the first person to get in touch with that person? You're competing with multiple other, brokerages or agents in the market. Now it is, we're calling you with that opportunity. You can take advantage of connecting with that consumer. And then we even give you the tool called My Agent so that you continue to show in front of them and keep that lead captured to you. So big difference there. So what did, next slide, sorry, Shelly, next question. What did make you decide to buy Zillow this time? Like what sparked your interest to revisit this platform?
Well, the largest, let's say this. I don't believe anybody should do Zillow if they're not working their sphere adequately. That is still the largest portion of my business. I preach it to my agents. It's preached across the NextHome. I mean, we're humans over houses for a reason. So if you're not working your sphere and doing a good job of that, don't even entertain this. But my business was doing really well and is doing really well. And I knew that the largest agent in our market is a huge Zillow spin. And he has been for some time, even when it was the bad system. He was the one beating me to all those phone calls. So this guy's been doing it for 10 years, and he's multi-million-dollar GCI every year. So it has to work. It must work, or he wouldn't continue to do it for as long as. And we've talked about him many times, Megan. You know who I'm talking about. But he's a big player, and sometimes you always have to be learning, and you always have to be trying new things and asking, how do I get to that next level, or why is that person doing 4 million GCI and I'm stuck at 400,000? You have to look at things. So I looked back into Zillow and I contacted a few folks that did it. I reached out to a few lenders. My first email, or if I said a Facebook post and it was a bad idea. I said, are there any lenders willing to do Zillow with me? Within 5 seconds, 5 lenders called me and said, we'll do half of whatever you want to do. So it went absolutely crazy, but it let me know that this is legit. So whatever Zillow's doing now, I need to be a piece of it, have a part of it. So we did. So, I go to conferences, I see Zillow. Yeah, can't get zips. So got a little frustrated, had a rep reach out to me. He's texting me. We're landing some zips. Our ad spend went from $800 to like 10,000 really, really quickly. But I was my interest was sparked because I knew the big guys did it, and I wanted to see what it was like, and I had the funds to do it and give it a whirl. A 6-month commitment, minimum on anything new that you try. I had the funds to do that. If I didn't make a nickel, let's give it a whirl. So we did, and that first 2 or 3 phone calls, I was absolutely hooked.
Yeah, and I remember when we spoke early on too, it was, the new lead distribution, you felt very much so fit what you were going to be able to handle and work with where you're at in your business and some of the agents you included in that. So that was key as well. And then we definitely had that conversation about, Megan, you got to watch these zip codes for me. You got to get me into these markets. And you were prepared to scale when those opportunities came about. So great. So then what was the main thing that you were kind of looking to get out of this?
Everything has to have an ROI or it's not worth doing. We can all sit in the bed and make no money. So there's no sense in doing something where you can't make money. But if you have a really strong way to touch your sphere and follow up with clients, I look at it like this. Zillow is incredibly expensive. It does have an ROI. But even if I break even, I'm adding 50 or 60 people to my database per year, as long as I'm giving them a great experience and they want to refer to me. So a break-even proposition still has exponential growth and exponential income potential if you have good systems. You have to have good systems for Zillow, and you have to have good systems for follow-up with your sphere, with everything that we do as broker owners, whether you are doing real estate or not. You have to have systems. So Zillow is just a piece of our huge pie, just to see how big we can get now. Absolutely.
And I know that, you mentioned getting break even still brings a ton of value. The business that your agents close, the total volume for your brokerage, that additional clientele into your database of, clients that now can refer you business and be repeat business for you. But I also remember, and you're a very competitive person, which I am as well. So I think that's part of why we get along so great. I remember you telling me very early on, I'm not looking to just break even. I want to make money. And the good news is that you are. And so that is the goal. And that's what, when you come on board as a broker and create a Zillow E-team, your business consultant is going to work closely with you to help you do the right things, make sure you have the right systems in place, the right follow-up, the right approach on these leads to get you there. But it is a long-term play. It's not, I'm going to do this for 3-6 months. You should really be talking about, I'm going to do this for a full calendar year. I'm going to do this. The goal is long-term, and be patient with it as you go.
When you're going to $8,000, $20,000 a month as fast as we were going, you have to have the ability to float that money until these closings start coming in. I've got zip codes. We closed our first deal in the first 30 days. I mean, literally a live connect, got our rotor contract sold. Then we got a $730,000 buyer. That's $21,000 covers an entire month if you have no lender help. So it's wild. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I know it was fun when I came and met you in person. We had just started our meeting and a client walked in, and it was a Zillow buyer handing you an escrow check. And then Jens was a little late to the team training because she was out showing an out-of-town $750,000 buyer from Zillow. So I was like, okay, those are both acceptable things to interrupt this training meeting. Awesome. Okay, so the next question is a little bit about the customer satisfaction, because that is one of the leading indicators of agent engagement and also success on our platform. And what I'm talking about here is the survey we send our clients, our customers, that we connect to you and your team after we've done that connection. And so this is something you've watched closely, that you've made a huge focus. I know you operate that way with all clients, wanting to deliver them a great experience, but there's also the best of Zillow recognition that comes along with driving a high CSAT score. So what are some of the things you've done to help impact your team's score?
So when I was listening to him speak earlier, I went and looked at my score, which we were best of Zillow at a 90, and we dropped to 89. So that was a little discouraging. But so you help us. I mean, you're the most important factor of that, helping us monitor that score. but also bringing on folks that, you know, if you bring folks onto your team because you can't work them enough, you have to make sure those people have the same work ethic and same, you know, knowledge about what that score means and how it impacts you. I just lost a zip code today because someone else's CSAT was bigger or higher than mine. So that's disappointing. So it does have, you know, ramifications of not having a good score. So you got to stay on top of it. You got to look, you got to understand the score. I mean, I still struggle to understand it. I know what it means, and I don't take all the phone calls anymore. So that's different. So it takes a lot of monitoring, a lot of listening back on the old phone calls, a lot of my team lead, you know, going back and letting me know what's said and reaching out to the agents. And it's really just education. You know, no one's intentionally ugly or intentionally mean or intentionally wants a bad score. But if you don't have the right system, the right scripts and things ready, it can reflect into a negative score. So ultimately education, but, you know, your rep is important. You staying in front of us and letting us know and being there for all of our questions when we have to figure out how to get back from an 87 to a 90, because I do like that best of label under my picture.
Yes, best of Zillow badge. We'll get it back. We have time. Good. So that's a perfect lead in because you mentioned already bringing on the right agents, the same like-minded type agents to this platform. And that is key because not every agent is going to be a good fit for this and will be great at converting online leads and online opportunities. I mean, there is a strategy to it. There is a right approach to it. There is some savviness and some ability to speak intelligently over the phone, right, that you need to have, along with a certain level of being accountable to certain things when you're part of this Zillow E-team, because that is crucial as well. You know, making sure that they are caring about the CSAT score, making sure that they are updating the status of leads so you know what your pipeline looks like with a huge spend that you have. So tell me a little bit about how you chose your initial team and then also the expansion team as you've grown your ad spend and your campaign.
You know, it's important, and it's kind of cliche to say hungry agents because I believe everybody likes to eat. So that's a little overplayed. But you have to have agents, you know, they have to be hungry. And it is what it is. They have to be willing to, I mean, we work on the weekends. That's when you're going to do the most of your business as a real estate professional. You have to be available. You know, we run our stats and Saturday and Sunday, you know, 20, 30 phone calls a weekend. You got to have a crew. For one, has their family in order to be able to do that. You know, a single mom may not be able to drop her kids off and take off. And do you necessarily want kids going to the showings? All those are things you have to work out with your team. But you have to have people that are ready, willing, and able to drop whatever they're doing and go show a lead. Because we know that math makes sense. Someone calls Live Connect. The last thing they need to do is see inside that home. And the last person that calls them or gets them in that house is probably the one that's going to write that contract. So people on our team have to be willing to do that. Now we have a team large enough now where, you know, we can get on our text thread and say, hey, I can't work this weekend. I won't answer the phone calls. You've taught us how to manage the lead routing where we can turn that person off. This person's got 12 deals going. We turned Matt off the other day because he got so much going on. He can't possibly work a lead like he needs to. So we started with folks that I gel with really well, that Ashley gels with well, that can kind of manage. People that don't mind being managed, don't mind being told, hey, you said that wrong, or you did this wrong, or this is the way we want to do it. If I'm spending 20 some odd thousand a month, I'm going to make sure they're saying at least some of the script we've taught them. Everybody does things a little bit different, and the end result's a closing. That's what I want, and a happy client. So you have to know the personalities. You know, I think it'll be difficult to hire right off the street, starting your team of agents you don't know, because my team gets 50%. And we all know that if someone's making 50% and 100% opportunity walks in, your 50% just went out the window. So you have to have folks that understand that mindset, that understand the big picture. This is economies of scale. You know, you're going to get a lot of closings at 50% and can appreciate that. It's tricky. You know, we've already had some. We've had some come. We've had some go. But I think myself and Ashley and Christy are the main core that they make sure I don't waste my money, if that makes sense.
For sure. And I think you mentioned some important things there, Thomas. You talked about some come and go. I mean, that is typical. You will have a Zillow E-team, and what you start with could look fairly different 6 months down the road. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because this is not right for every single agent on your team. It's not going to be right typically for your top producers. They are going to be busy enough with their sphere. And like you said, that 100% or that much bigger commission deal is going to take priority over these Zillow consumers, but these Zillow consumers are ready to buy a lot of times as well. So you need that balance of that agent that is hungry to do more business. And you're right, hungry is kind of a weird way of saying it, but it's someone that is growth minded, that is looking to grow their business, grow their sphere, grow the base of clients that they can gain business from now and in the future. And that is also, a team player. One of the things you mentioned to me when we talked recently about recruiting is that you kind of allow your top agents to recruit for you, right? So creating a culture and an environment of teamwork, and we're all in this together, and this is a great place to be and a great place to work, has allowed you to recruit that way. And so I think it's the same mindset of everyone needs to be helping each other, willing to be coached, willing to get feedback, willing to help each other. Hey, this is working for me on Zillow Leads.
Yeah,
and so that is key. And so the other thing, though, that you mentioned that is really key, so Shelly, next slide, please, next question, is accountability. It is a key component of any successful Zillow campaign, making sure that they are executing on some scripting and some updates and doing the right follow-up and getting in front of the consumer, because we know we're all better in person, but also they're more likely to work with you, especially if you're the first person to get in front of them. So how do you hold your agents accountable?
We have a Monday meeting now, Monday morning at 9 a.m., and that's to go over everything that's coming in over the weekend, what we're struggling with, take care of the coming listings or the coming contracts to closing for that week. So we're very intentional with our meeting as a team, and then actually meets with each individual agent one-on-one to help them process what they have going on now, to see if they're overwhelmed, to go over phone calls where they messed up. I mean, you hop on a Zillow phone call and you find out quick that they might have said something unethical unintentionally, and this stuff's recorded. It's quite an opener. Even I've said stuff that I'm not illegal or unethical, but I'm like, why did I say that? You don't know, because you're in the middle of a restaurant, you hop up, your wife's wondering why you're running out the restaurant. What's a $700,000 late listing? I'm going to take this phone call. So we follow up with them that way. We really do a lot of one-on-one coaching with them. Under myself, Ashley handles that for me. I think you guys might have met Ashley before. I know you have, Megan. But it's important to have those people in place that can monitor for you. At the spend level I think we get 130, 150 leads a month. It's something absolutely insane. I can't possibly manage that myself. So I've decided to put people in that place to manage those for me, and they kind of just report back to me. And I know you guys have seen me. I'm a big proponent of Boomtown. Zillow CRM, the thing you have is amazing, but with the Boomtown, we're able to funnel all these leads in here. And I do give Boomtown a little credit for how we've been so successful, because we're able to manage all these leads from an admin account. We can hop in and text for that on the agent's behalf. We're able to see them through the process a little bit easier, within the entire company. So we have things in place, but it all comes down to management. I mean, it's not, picking the right people is important, but you can make the not necessarily perfect people, the right people with the right management. So you have to have things in place to have that and to hold them accountable. You can't just let all these leads fill your inbox and your voicemail and expect to be successful. It just won't happen.
Awesome. So true. And I think one of the things I want to highlight that you mentioned there is a team lead. And so most of our brokers that get started in this program and have a decent size Zillow E-team and spend with us, they do have a team lead. And sometimes that's one of the agents that is taking the leads as well. And they're just helping manage it, though, helping train, coach, listen to calls, help the others involved get better and improve themselves as well. Recording the calls is kind of a crazy thing. Most people hate listening to themselves on it and such, but it is such a great training tool, because you'll realize, man, I missed that door that the consumer opened for me, or, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said it differently. So, but that's a tribute to you guys of really taking the tools that we provide, along with using a strong CRM. And we have a lot of Tech Connect partners that can be connected, CRMs that can be connected to your Zillow advertising account. Using those in combination to really execute on taking care of these leads coming in, because that is a high volume. And so if you don't have things in place to handle it, a lot can slip through the cracks.
And I do keep my Zillow app up, so all of them pop up onto my phone, regardless of the agent they do. If I'm sitting on the lake and I see 14 leads coming through, on Monday morning we should have something that possibly went under contract or a reason why. So I do keep my finger on a little bit, but you got to ultimately this is all about, you have to trust your team is trying to close those deals, saying things correctly, making you look good, and you have to trust that your team lead is managing it and managing your money. So I have really, really good people.
Yeah. And then you need to still be involved, like you said, as the broker. I mean, you and I talk frequently. So it's not like you've got a team lead and you're hands off. It's not like you're not involved and talking to me. So that's crucial as well. The more engaged the broker is, even if it's just, statusing with the team lead on what's going on, or statusing with their business consultant on a higher level with reporting and data, that is a key component to success for sure. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit. Next question, what role your BC has played in your success and how you view that relationship?
You're my BC, right?
Yeah. Funny.
I think that, my business consultant being you, it's been really cool because I have given you pretty much free reign for all zip codes, like just spend my money. And I don't do that, I don't do that lightheartedly. You clearly do care. And this is not fluff, guys. If you know me, it's not fluff. But when you're spending $250,000 a year, you want to make sure that the person has your back. I mean, you really do. We talk about zip codes that aren't, doing well. Great, drop them. Let's pick up another one. The cool thing about being under contract is it's an ad spend amount. So if that zip code is not working, we get together and we talk about it. Let's move this. Let's move that. I asked you to take on another 5,000 yesterday. We didn't get it, but your first question was not, hey, you sure this is going to clear your card? It was, do you have the team in place for this? Is this going to be a wise investment of your money? Because you don't want to see us fail. Because I wouldn't be on the screen right now telling my other brokers to investigate Zillow at this time if it didn't work, if I didn't think you guys had my back. I'll say back in the day, 10 years ago, that's exactly how I felt. That $3,000 a month coming out of my account was crushing me because I saw no return. Partly my fault, partly because of the way the system was set up. But now I feel like it is a true partnership between you and I. Clearly you're in sales. Clearly you make money on this, and you should. But if I thought you were just after my money, I don't think I would be at this level that I am. So I appreciate your honesty with me about how we grow this and about how we spend the money, because I think it makes it better. Now, you can't be responsible for how well our team does. You can look at our score, and I'm sure there's brokers out there that try it and their team sucks and they don't make money. And I don't think it's your BC's fault necessarily. But if you're not reaching out to your BC and trying to figure out what's wrong, then you can really only blame yourself, because you've been nothing but helpful in questions and, text in the middle of the night. I don't even know your time zone, but I text you whenever and you make it work, which is great. So it's been a real cool relationship that someone else is overseeing my money and protecting my money and my business as well, because at that spend, you can bury yourself quickly. So I think it's been a phenomenal relationship, and I'm very, very thankful that I got you from NextHome, or from this relationship with NextHome and Zillow. And I hope we can do this for a lot longer.
Love it. Thank you. I didn't pay you to say all of that, first and foremost.
You're giving me a different. No, it's kidding.
In all seriousness, I mean, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I do care about my clients. But Thomas and a lot of the clients I work with make it easy because they are wonderful partners to work with. And so we have a common goal of driving great success, having this be a value add for your brokerage, and bringing a great experience to our consumer. The consumer is Zillow's North Star, and it's your North Star as well. And so, we align on a lot of things there. And so I'm very excited as well for the long relationship and great success along the way. So thank you for that, Thomas. let's get down to the last couple of questions. For someone looking to do this, what piece of advice would you give them?
Don't limp in. Treat this like poker. Determine what you can handle, what you can stomach, and go all in. I don't think you probably need to get a loan to do Zillow, but reach out to some lender partners, figure out where you need to be, and go big. Go for a zip code that makes sense. The map that Zillow has, and I'm sure you guys can share that information with them. But look at that ROI, look at that average sales price, look at what it's going to get you, and go big. I feel like if you limp in with $300-400 and get 2 connections a month, those 2 connections could suck every single month, because it's statistics. And I feel like those people, and a lot of you guys reach out to me, and I certainly don't mind taking phone calls, but you tell me I'm going to do $300-400, hold on to that money. Save it up for a big time zip code, a big time spin, where you can get 20-30 leads where you're closing 3 or 4. So my biggest advice is to go all in on a big zip code. Whenever that comes available, be ready for when it's available. And you've always been good at that, helping me know what's coming up.
Yeah, but in the same token, you've been ready and you've been willing to take advantage of it and pull the trigger. And that's key as well, because I can alert you to markets all day long. And if you don't say, yeah, grab it, then it's kind of pointless, right? Yeah. So absolutely. So I like that, don't limp in. You need to come prepared to be fully invested in a lot of ways, not just monetary, but ready to do this, ready to really be focused on having this be a value add for your brokerage, because it can bring so much value, both monetary with a return on investment and additional dollars into your pocket and your agents, but also on retention and recruiting. So all of those things that kind of John mentioned before, this program can do that. It can also elevate the performance of others in your brokerage, because they want to be a part of the Zillow team. They want to be added. And, you started with a smaller team and you have expanded. And I'm sure the word is getting out more and more of, wow, he's getting more people involved. How do I be the next that's involved? Cool. So awesome. So then final question is, what role do you see Zillow playing in your business moving into 2021 and beyond?
Wow. Can't wait to see I think our first 6 months contract is up. I've done the calculations. I think I'm about 100,000 to the good. I see them being a large part. I know Zillow is having changes. I know we've all had heartburn with Zillow and Broker Flex, and I know we're not getting to that today, but Zillow has created a platform that is going to be impossible for us to trump. It just is what it is, and we need to. I felt that it was time for me to be a part of that. We have a phenomenal website through Boomtown. We have a phenomenal Home Spotter app. But when I hold an open house or I'm in a listing, they come from Zillow. 95%, 99%. I don't care how many links I share, what I do. They're coming from Zillow because Zillow created the demand. So I think Zillow is going to keep that demand, and I think that it's great to leverage that relationship that we have with you guys to carry on to the future, because these consumers now, you go into McDonald's, they won't even go to the register. They're going to fill out information on a kiosk so they don't have to talk to anyone. Okay, so the last thing these consumers need to do is see inside the house. They literally don't want to talk to anybody. They're not calling or coming by your office. They're going to Zillow. They got an alert for a price drop. They got an alert for you get it all the time. Why are you at this open house? I got an alert from Zillow. Why are you in this house? I got an alert from Zillow. They just need us there for that relationship, to let them see that house, the last piece of the puzzle. I don't see that going away with Zillow. So I think it's going to be a huge part of our business, however you guys decide to let us be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for walking us through, what this partnership has looked like and how it's going so far. And some of the pieces of advice I think are so, so valuable. So I really appreciate your time today, because I know your time is money and you're a busy guy. I'm so thrilled to be working with you and your team, and I'm excited for 2021 and beyond as well. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Keith to kind of close us out today.
Hi, Megan. Thank you. Thomas, two quick follow-up questions real fast. One is, how long did it take you to go from working the leads with the team to primarily managing the team? And do you still work leads today, the inbound leads? Because I think for some folks, they love the after picture, but there was a process to getting to the after picture. So can you share that with us a little bit?
Sure. I mean, it was a gamble for me. It was a lot of money. I thought that it would work. I was unsure that it would work, but I was answering, almost every phone call, and I feel like I'm better at it. Maybe I'm not. But when you have that kind of investment, you make sure that it's going to get the best shake that it can possibly get. With that said, 130 leads a month to your cell phone, the majority of the weekend, will burn you out very, very quickly. So it was not very long before I realized I needed to take my name, my number off of that lead routing, because I do have to focus on my 50 agents and the 5 offices, and there's a lot going on. I still give a lot of emphasis to my sphere. So it's just a numbers game. It's a math game. If I give up 50%, will I still make a return? The answer is yes. The answer has been yes now for 6 months. So it didn't take me long. But that's a huge ad spend. If you come in at 2,000, 3,000, it might be something you can manage on your own. And if you've been in this business any amount of time, you're pretty much on call 24/7 if you don't have help. So it didn't take me long, but it's because I have a lot going on that I couldn't put on the back burner. Your sphere still needs your attention. My agents need my attention. Zillow is just a subset of our business.
I do like that, though. The financial commitment forces it to be top of mind, right? Don't spend the money at a place where you're really willing, and able to give it the focus that it deserves. Last question, and then Chris, I'll pull you back on just so for people who are curious and want to know where to email for next steps, you can share that with them. But Thomas, how much time a week do you spend managing your team today? Is it 2 hours a week, 10 hours a week?
I mean, it's to be honest with you, I pay my people really, really well. I mean, they make 6 figures. They make a lot of money, so they don't have to. I do manage it. I do go listen to phone calls. I am on the app. I do see the leads come up just to keep my finger on the pulse of what's really going on and what should be happening. That comes at a price. You can't possibly micromanage it forever. You've got to trust your team. But it didn't, it's about who you put in place. It's just like, putting in the right agents. You get the wrong agents, you're going to work yourself to death. So, that's what we had to do that really quick with the right people. I would say in Zillow, I'm probably 10 hours a week, roughly 10 hours a week, managing the meetings, follow up, dealing with Ashley. I deal with Ashley on this level, and she handles all the other work.
Ashley runs the day-to-day, and then you spot check. It's a big investment, so of course you're going to.
I'm the cheerleader out here. They're texting me, hey, one of our team members just got her first Zillow deal. Happens to be with another NextHome agent in our office. I'm all about those accolades, those kudos, great job. But when you have a question, reach out to Ashley. But it's just how you present it and build your team from the front, just like everything else we do here at NextHome.
So get a Megan, get an Ashley, and then go dominate. I got it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Thomas.
Lender partners. Partners.
Yes.
Lender partners. Okay.
Make sure you get the right one, right?
The right one.
Chris, so if someone's interested and they want to reach out, what is the best way for them to contact you to take next steps or at least explore?
Yeah. So if you're interested in next steps, or if you just are simply curious and you just want to know what's available in your area, the way that you can virtually raise your hand is email NextHome Zillow Partnership at zillowgroup.com. You see it on your screen. And you can simply email that, say you're interested. Our team will reach out. Some of you have also been asking some questions just directly. We don't have like an open chat, but some of you have been asking questions. I've been answering for you. If you have any issues with your profile or something like that, we want to be obviously able to help you. So again, if you have any questions or need any help, reach out to the NextHome Zillow Partnership at zillowgroup.com, and we will direct it to the right place. But the best thing I think that we can do in this time is to see what our options are And so it's not going to hurt to reach out and to at least look at what's possible for you and your market. And like I said, you're on this because you're highlighted as a broker in an area that is near a zip code that has good ROI possibilities. So it's a great opportunity to explore. There's never a better time than right now.
All right, NextHome Zillow partnership at zillowgroup.com.
Yep.
That's the longest email address I've probably seen, at least today. At least today.
You won't forget it.
Yeah, I might spell it wrong, though. There's a lot of letters in there. NextHome Zillow partnership at zillowgroup.com. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I just want to encourage you, look, if you're at a place where you feel like you've got the capital and you feel like you've got the bandwidth to explore it. This does work if you work it. There are no silver bullets in residential real estate. I think Thomas has given you a beautiful architecture for, number one, start with your sphere of influence. That's the bedrock of your business, always has been, always should be, and then add one thing next. And if you have the capital and the time capacity, this should be something that you consider adding next to your business, and it's worth an email and a 30-minute phone call to explore what's there for you. So, Thomas, thank you so much for your time and sharing the tools from the field, stories, postcards from the edge, maybe. I'm excited about a stake in South Carolina as soon as I can get back on a plane. I miss you.
Do it.
All right. The entire Zillow team, John, Chris, Megan, thanks so much. And NextHome, if you've got any questions for me too, you know my email address is keith@nexthome.com. If you want to reach out to me first to kick something around before you type in that really long email address that was on the screen a second ago, I'm always here as a resource for you too if you need anything. So thanks, Zillow.
I'm always here to talk about Zillow as well. If you guys, I know a lot of you messaged me already, but please reach out. I'll give you the absolute 100% honest truth, always.
Awesome. I'll do the same. I will do the same. All right. Amazing. Love you all a lot. Everybody stay safe, stay motivated, and talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye, guys.